Yeah, what's up, Big Mike?
What's up, Taka?
How you doing?
What's up, buddy?
How's everything?
How was your day?
Doing good.
Everything's good?
Yeah, doing good, man.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Busy today?
Trying to stay busy, yeah. I had a lot of carburetors to rebuild today, you know?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, busy is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Busy is a very good thing. Taka!
Yes.
Yes, man. Thank you for having us here.
Oh, thanks for coming.
It's good to be here at your shop and be able to provide this kind of behind-the-scenes view for people to see what you do.
Okay.
Because in the community, people know you, but you keep it, very low-key.
Right.
And, that's actually a good one. Why do you do that? Rather than, advertise and try to get more business in that sense, why do you keep it so low-key?
I like to keep it personal, obviously. First thing, I do everything the best that I like to me.
Yes.
And, a lot of times, I like to focus as much as I can instead of just banging it out, making it into like a really big, business. I rather just kind of keep it small for the time being and, and try to give out the highest quality product
Well, see,
I can afford.
That kind of concept is a very, very commendable one. A lot of times, unfortunately, with business growth, there can be some type of loss of quality or, rushing and things like that. So the fact that you refuse to allow that to happen is actually quite commendable. So let's see what you have going on.
Okay,
let's go.
Come on in.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's the shop. This is where I rebuild my carburetors, mainly my rebuild station. So whenever I get a carburetor fully disassembled, cleaned, vapor honed, all the parts zinc plated, this is where the final assembly takes place. It's a little messy right now, but it's pretty much the everyday lifestyle here.
So this particular one is going to go on what type of vehicle?
I believe this is going on a Datsun 510. It's a L18 engine. They are Mikuni 44 millimeter carburetors. And those are going on Datsun 240Z.
Okay. So 240 and a 510.
Yep, 240Z, 510. That's my main customers. I do deal with a lot of Toyota customers as well. But anybody that runs Mikuni carburetors, I take it in and do my best, try to rebuild it, and try to provide the best service possible.
So. Okay, that's a beautiful thing. So how did you get started? Of all the cars, right? You are Japanese American.
Yes.
Right. Of all the types of Japanese cars, all the eras. Right. Why the Z?
I've always been into Z cars. Funny story is that I used to have my dad's friend, which was a lot older than I was, and he's from Okinawa, and his friends in Okinawa, and used to own a 240Zs, Fairladies in Japan, and they would take a video. And he would play it back for me on this old school VHS. And every time they go on a cruise, they'll do a carburetor adjustments, and they'll pop the hood, and they'll see like Mikuni carburetors in there. And I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I finally pulled the trigger to get my own 240Z.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about carburetors or 240Z for that matter at that time. But more I worked on it slowly. I started to learn more and more, connected with a bunch of different people.
And around what year was that?
This is back about 2012, 2013, around there.
So that's not even that long ago.
No, not that long ago, no. Yeah, so before that, I was all into like S14s and SR engines, you name it, So nothing classic at all. So.
Interesting. So you made that transition really not that long ago into specializing specifically in this.
Yes.
And why that? Why? How?
I just fell in love with the carburetors. It was such an old school feel, nostalgic feel to it. The sound, it grunts when when you pull the throttle all the way,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just mainly the simplicity of carburetor. Very manual, should I say, or very mechanical.
Yes.
There's no electric components whatsoever, and that's what really got me into it. So.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. All right, so here it is, my shop. So right now I'm sharing a space with my buddy John Williams. He owns a business, Williams Machine Inc. He's a machinist by trade, and he recently downsized because he's retiring. So he was asking for a partnership, or should I say, a subleaser.
Yeah.
So I was able to get the opportunity to join with him to rent a small space from him. So if it wasn't for John, I wouldn't be here opening my new shop. So yeah.
So it's you guys together.
Yes, well,
This is his
we're a separate
downsized
entity.
spot.
But
Yeah.
but definitely, we're kind of sharing the space. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
okay, so here's my where all the customer carburetors come in and they get staged for inspection and disassembly. So I get everything from Mikuni carburetors, Delorto, Solex, Weber carburetors, you name it. Any side draft carburetors typically I service. So it comes in.
Do you have a favorite type or build, like the quality that you've seen? Is there a certain build style that you really like the most?
Yeah, I really like to keep it more nostalgic. Or
Yes.
should I say more true to original as much as possible.
Yes.
So I like to try and bring back its own natural shine back. How Mikuni would have it back in the days. I like to try and resurrect that as much as possible. And so does Weber's and Delorto's. They kind of had that really old school aluminum look.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to try and bring that back with the type of rebuilding procedures that I do.
And so how did you learn?
Trial by error, obviously. That was my main thing, is that it was really difficult for me to try to rebuild it, from the get-go. So I would keep trying with my own carburetors, and, I'll get some friends' carburetors here and there. I would try start and rebuild those first, and I would get tips from, fellow Mikuni enthusiasts, as well as some of the expert builders. There are up in like NorCal, Josel or Dave Primo, Mike Malone. I'll get tips from them. And, slowly I started to mix my own technique into it.
Yes.
And try to, recreate the restoration as much as possible.
So it is very much a restoration.
Yes, correct.
Right? So it's not modification.
No.
You're not trying to change anything about them.
Correct, yeah. I mean, I do some modifications sometimes here and there, but most of the time, majority of my customers seek restoration type of rebuild.
So it is everything from rezinking pieces, finding missing broken pieces,
Yep.
and just making it back to, would you say better than original?
Some people would call it better than original, but I've seen NOS or new old stock Mikuni carburetors.
So there have been people who've been holding on to them.
Yes, yeah, there are a few out there, and I've seen some actual pictures of it. And I more and more I look at it, there seem to be slightly difference between how I rebuild it and
Yes.
how they were back in the days. So I try to keep changing my ways to rebuild it, try to resurrect the back in the days, more of that old school, carburetor look. So,
Okay, so
yeah,
aesthetically,
Right.
you want it to appear
as
new
close
old
to
stock.
new old stock as possible.
But you're saying that from literal new old stock that you've seen,
Mm-hmm.
there are some differences. And be honest,
Yes.
do you like your style better than original?
I do. I like it because I vapor hone all my carburetor bodies.
Yes.
And, they come out really nice.
Yes.
And new old stock, they're cool, but they do have that little roughness going on. So
I see.
Yeah. So with the full rebuild, yeah, that roughness has been smoothed out, should I say?
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure.
I think that's really cool. I mean, you and I have a lot of mutual acquaintances and friends, and it's very, very cool to be able to get to this point where you're giving us the ability to see what goes on because you forged your name, right, in the community, in the culture. The people know, but sometimes I think without realizing it, if we stay too low key, it can be a beautiful thing, but it can also be a detriment.
Right.
So I appreciate you opening up and allowing us to come here and see what goes on, behind closed doors.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys here too.
So what do we have as far as your clientele presently in the shop?
So majority of my clientels, they all own Datsuns for the most part. One of my customer, he owns a 510, another one 240Zs. Mainly, these type of classic cars that show up. Not just carburetor stuff, but I also do suspension, engine, brakes, transmission, you name it. I do it all. So right now, I'm waiting on parts, but currently working on suspension and brake upgrade for this 510. And then down below, I have a 240Z, and this customer is going for carburetor rebuild, or carburetor upgrade, should I say. He's got a Weber carburetors currently.
So he has Webers, and then he wants to go into what?
Two Mikuni carburetors.
So, okay.
Correct, yeah. So he's going with the Mikuni Solex Nismos is what they call it, which is the holy grail of 44 millimeter Mikuni carburetors, in my book,
Okay, so he is going from what?
He's going from a Weber 45 millimeter carburetors to Solex or Mikuni 44 Nismos. And they were only offered in Nissan catalog back in the days.
Yes.
And so they look slightly different, but they are 44 millimeter carburetors, and they're pretty special. Not very many people have them.
Okay.
And when they do come out, they fetch premium pricing. And this customer just so happened he got pretty lucky. I came across a set of triple.
Oh, so you sourced them?
Correct. Yeah, I sourced it, and I came across a triple set. So he jumped on it. I rebuilt it, and it's about to get a transplant from a Weber to Mikuni carburetors.
Okay, and then when somebody's able to find that, or you sourced it for them, what do these types of enthusiasts do with their existing? Do they hold on to them? Do they sell them?
They typically sell it. Some people rather hold on to it, but majority of the time they tend to sell it, to some other enthusiast, that's willing to run Weber carburetors.
Yeah.
Or some other than Mikunis. So there's definitely a big fan base for Weber carburetors as well.
Yes.
So people come out and request Weber carburetor installs and tuning and all that good stuff. Mikunis, unfortunately, they're discontinued. They no longer make them.
Yeah.
So they do fetch high premium, but at the same time, if they rather have more of that JDM feel, should I say, they rather kind of upgrade to Mikunis, or should I say switch over to Mikuni carburetors. So there it is. This one just came in a couple days ago. It's a 1967 and a half Datsun Roadster, 2000. It's very rare. It's probably the most sought after Roadster of its kind. They only made for 6 months, from 67 and a half to 68. But it comes with a 2-liter engine. It's pretty rare, and not many people have them. But the Roadster guys love them. They look for this all the time, and by far it's probably the most popular Roadster that they have available. They are the short window type with a 2-liter engine, which is only made from 67 and a half till 68, I believe, or end of 67.
So what does this particular vehicle go for?
To be honest with you, I really don't know what the value is. But I would say, some people will pay 20, 30, $35,000. They kind of vary in prices, but as far as this particular model, 67 and a half, they fetch more premium than the rest of the roadsters that's out there.
I see. So what are you working on with this one?
This one came in for carburetor tuning.
Yeah.
He's been having some problem with the idle issue and some carburetor having some problems, so he came in for quick adjustment and service. And I found a few other places that was wrong with it.
Yes.
So I'm trying to fix it so that it runs right and it's more reliable.
Yes. Yes. So what about these two Z's here?
So these two Z's are actually, the bottom one is my buddy John Williams. That's his personal 240Z. It's a 1972 model.
Okay.
He's doing some little changes currently. So he's did a engine upgrade, suspension, brakes, drive terrain. And the one above is actually my car. It's a 71 240Z.
Oh, it's your personal one?
Yes, it is, yeah. So I actually bought this car from my buddy John Williams. So this was his former SCCA race car.
Okay.
So
this was John's personal race car.
Correct, yeah. And the story was that he blew his rear end and he parked it thinking he was gonna fix it, and then his business got really busy and he ended up just storing it at his shop for about 15 years.
So what are the plans for it?
The plans for it to, definitely fully strip it down to bare metal and start doing some body work. Do a little resto mod on it. It's a little outdated as far as suspension and engine components. So I want to try and update it just a little bit, but still keep the nostalgic feel to it.
Yes.
After I talked to, Sung Kang and a few of the guys, I kind of realize that it's actually important to keep, its history, whether if it's a historical car or not. But
sure,
still, this was, John's former race car, and he has a lot of history behind it. So I wanted to kind of keep that and try to modernize it a little bit, but at the same time, still kind of like a homage to John's race car.
Very cool. So Taka, let's talk about the why, right? Okay. Like, why did you decide to leave fuel injected SRs, Sylvias, that kind of thing that you were into, and really not do both, but let that go and just do this? Why did you do that?
I felt like this was a lost art, or should I say a dying art. Not many people knows how to work on carburetors. And, as starting off working on these type of carburetors, I was having problem trying to get it tuned, should I say, or get it running right. And, I try to seek many people, from internet, trying to search for guys that can actually tune carburetors, and I couldn't really find anybody. And, so more digging I started doing, I came across this website called Wolf Creek Racing. And, the owner, Todd Walrich, he was like a go-to Mikuni guy. And, many people would seek his service to get the carburetors rebuilt, or should I say tuning, installation, sales of parts. So I kind of called him and reached out to him. And, first thing he said was, he was kind of a grumpy old man. And he was like, hey, do you know anything about Mikuni carburetors? I'm like, I don't, I bought a 240Z.
Oh, so he was kind of dismissive.
Right, yeah, and he was like, oh, what do you have? And I'm like, well, I have a 1971 240Z with triple 44 Mikunis. But, I just can't get it running right. And he was like, well, if you don't know anything about Mikuni carburetors, I can't help you.
Interesting.
And so he asked for my email address, and he was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna send you a Mikuni, manual. Don't call me back until you read
study?
and understand it.
I like that. So he said, don't call me back.
Right, exactly.
Until you do your own studying.
Right. Yeah, he was like, don't call me back until you understand what's going on. That's what he said, and he literally just hung up the phone on me. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. So I started to read the manual, and more I read it, more I start to, slightly understand what's happening to it.
Yeah.
So after I kind of realized what's happening, I would call him back and I'll tell Todd, like, hey, Todd, thanks for the email. I read it, and I think this is what's happening to my car because of this problem. So if I change this jet, I think I can make it better. And he was like, hey, now you're talking.
Okay, so you earned the respect.
Right. He was like, okay, now you're talking. I can finally help you because now you're starting to understand what's going on. So it kind of started with that. And, more and more I would talk to him. I'll call him like once every 2 weeks or so, try to figure out what's going on with my car. We'll exchange emails and stuff.
And he was cool.
Yeah, well, eventually he was really cool about it, and he'll pick up my phone call all the time, and, he'll give me more tips, but he'll never tell me what kind of jets I should put in,
I see.
But he'll always tell me like, hey, so if you're having this problem, what do you think is the problem gonna be, or what can you do to fix the problem? So he'll always try to make me, think of what to do to fix it. And, he was kind of like remotely trying to help me, become a better tuner.
Well, in hindsight, do you appreciate that angle, that style?
I do, yeah. I mean,
because he just made you get your hands dirty.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and it made me think, and it was definitely challenging, but at the same time, when I figured it out and when I put a different jets in and my car would improve or my acceleration would improve, then it was like the best feeling in the world. It was like, oh my gosh, like it works. So more and more I'll tell them like, hey, it worked. I think, if I do this, it'll make it better. And, that's how we kind of exchanged it. And, information. And, I think as I kept going, I started to get deeper and deeper into the art of carburetor tuning.
Yes.
And, that's when I say, you know what, fuel injection, turbo, they're great and all, but this is what I really want to do.
Yeah.
Is, carburetor stuff. I just got hooked with it.
And so that's why it ended up being not difficult to put aside the SR and everything and just go all in.
Yeah, it was
so
just
cool.
Really fun. Yeah.
So cool. I mean, as you guys can see, there's all of these different vehicles here, and Taka giving us the lay of the land of these customers' cars. It makes you want to start to do something with a carbureted car, but I've got too many projects right now. So, the one thing I'm actually very interested in, Taka, is I'm actually very interested in how do you work on your car when you have all of these projects lined up?
Yeah, that's always a difficult thing, working on my own car while I'm, trying to fulfill customers' cars or, their project is extremely difficult. But, sometimes, you just have to make time for it, and eventually you just got to say, hey, you know what? I have to get my hands dirty on my own cars,
So what do you do? Do you take a weekend that you would normally have off and just wrench on your own?
Kind of, yeah. I have to take one day off, and, as selfish as this is, one of the benefit about owning your own business is that you can close for one day.
You can make your own hours.
Right, exactly. And, it is selfish, and I get it. I'm so sorry, to all the customers, but... I love it. When I do that, I can just take my time away from, just disconnect from the business aspect of my cars and then just kind of connect it with, my own personal vehicle, which is awesome. Okay, my friend Taka.
Yes.
Thank you for, blessing us with the story, the mentors, the history, and the reasons why of what creates
what you do and why you do what you do.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you.
It's an honor. It's a pleasure, and and good people, good business is what this is about. So thank you for allowing us to be behind the scenes.
The honor's mine too. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Taka. See you guys later.
Being passionate about your work or your business or your hobby, I guess. If you want to make it into a career, it's a lot harder than that. Life's not that easy. So yeah, it was pretty lesson learned for me. I was like, damn, man, like the corporate life, I thought it was shitty, but when I first started my own business, I thought it was going to be all gravy and, everything was really nice and easy. Money was going to come easy, but it really isn't, Like, I really had to bust my ass and really promote myself and try to get my name out there so that I can really, start rebuilding carburetors for other customers so that I can put food on my table, my kid's table or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Roof over my head. And, things weren't as easy as I thought it would be. I mean, I'm glad that I'm doing it, now, but I'm still worried every day, of trying to make it out there, because I still have to pay for my mortgage and bills add up, they won't stop.
But that is one of the things, is that the work ethic and the determination will sustain you when all of the other ideas that you had about how amazing it would be, when they all magically are not real, or at least fade away. It comes and goes. I mean, there are going to be days when you're going to come in and you're going to love it. And other days you're like, I'm fucking tired. It's hot. It's cold. I'm barely made it last month. I need to do my books again. How am I going to get better? And it's frustrating.
It is, yeah.
And that's why sometimes the passion of things is not going to sustain you. Your perseverance, your drive, that's what it's about. So
life's not as easy as you would imagine. I mean, it's definitely hard work. Hard work pays off, but it's definitely a hard work. So yeah, I learned my lesson for sure.